What is good, everyone, and welcome back to the Mayo Media Network. My name's Griffin Swanson, and I'm here to break down the Thursday night football game between the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans. Got a couple of prize picks for this game, and then we're going to dive into my spreadsheet, breaking down the DraftKings Showdown slate. But before we do that, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. The Mayo Media Network has football content coming out Monday through Sunday all season long, tackling all aspects of DFS. We got these showdown slates here, the DraftKings main slate. We even got some DraftKings tiers that you should be checking out, so don't miss out on any of that. And for you podcast people, you can head on over to the Apple Pods as well, find the content there, and while you're at it, leave a 5-star review if you don't mind. But let's go ahead and kick things off here with a couple of prize picks for Thursday night. So I'm over on the PrizePicks.com website here now. For starters, I want to mention this. If you have not signed up for PrizePicks and you want to do so, make sure you use code MMN upon sign up for up to a $100 match deposit. It's legit free money right off the bat. As soon as you put your deposit in, PrizePicks will match that. You don't have to play any other contests like some of these DFS sites make you do to earn that bonus back. No, on PrizePicks, as soon as you put your money in, they send you that deposit match right away, up to $100. So again, just make sure you use code MMN upon sign up. Now I got two picks that I like here for this Thursday night game. The first one is probably pretty obvious. We're going to take the over here on this rushing prop for Christian McCaffrey. 84.5 yards. I think he hits the over here against the Texans, a team that just isn't going to be very good all season long, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We'll touch on that in the spreadsheet here in just a minute, but very messy to say the least here heading into Thursday. But with that being said, we know what CMC brings to the table. 84.5 rushing yards here is something that he can definitely hit. We've seen him get 20-plus rushing attempts in each of the first two games to start this season. Assuming he gets that here on Thursday as well, I think he goes over 84.5 pretty easily against this Houston defense. And even if he doesn't get to 20 rushing attempts, I think this is still a pretty good number to where he can hit the over. He's got that game-breaking speed, and I just don't know if the Texans are going to be able to keep up with him. We all love CMC. Again, we all know what he brings to the table, so I'm going to take the over here at 84.5 rushing yards. And then the second pick that I like here is going to be a receiving yards prop. I'm going to stick with the Carolina Panthers here. Like I said, the Texans kind of got a sticky situation heading into Thursday night. Got their third-string quarterback, Davis Mills, starting in that game, and so I honestly don't even know what to expect from him. I'll touch on that in the spreadsheet, but this Carolina team's looked pretty damn good throughout the first 2 weeks of the season. Beat the Jets in week 1, and then beat the Saints last week pretty handedly as well. So I'm going to take Robbie Anderson here, over 46.5 receiving yards. Honestly, he's got the ability to hit the over here on one single play. We saw it back in week 1 where he scored a touchdown from 57 yards out, albeit he only had 3 targets in that game. He did see 6 last week. Looks like it's just taken a minute here for him and Sam Darnold to get back on the same page. Remember, they did play together when they were both New York Jets. I think this is just a bit too low. This could be a breakout game for Robbie Anderson. And again, all it really takes is for him to get 1 or 2 catches in this game to hit the over. So I'm going to take the over on both him and Christian McCaffrey for Thursday night here. Again, we can approach this 2 different ways, the flex play or the power play. If you go the power play route, you will need both picks to hit, but it does increase the payout. Again, if you're going to be signing up for PrizePicks, make sure you use code MMN upon sign up to get that $100 match deposit. But all right, folks, let's go ahead and dive into this spreadsheet here next. Now, for those of you who are new to these videos here and the spreadsheets themselves, first and foremost, I'm always listing out the Vegas odds here in the top left-hand corner. You can see the Panthers, even though they're going on the road here to Texas, they're pretty heavy favorites on the money line at minus 425. Texans coming in there at plus 320, and an over-under there of 43.5 points. Directly below that, listing out a few stats here from 2020 as well to help you make the most optimal showdown lineups. So 6 different stats here from 2020. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Stat number 1, 92% of all showdown lineups rostered at least one quarterback. 96% of the top 1% of lineups did as well. Number 2, 33% of all lineups rostered a wide receiver at captain. And of the top 1% of lineups, 31.4% did as well. Number 3 there, 57% of the top 1% lineups rostered a captain from the team favored to win. So in this example here, the Carolina Panthers. Number 4, run it back. An opposing quarterback quarterback, wide receiver, or tight end was included in 88.9% of winning lineups that rostered a quarterback, wide receiver, or tight end from the other team in the captain spot. Number 5 there, ignore defense and kickers in the captain spot. Very rarely does that work. Only 1.1% of the time in the 1% lineups last year. And number 6, don't play more than 2 kickers or defenses in the same lineup. Usually one is fine. I really do like the Panthers defense here in this Thursday night affair. I was going to list out the Houston kicker. It looks like it's supposed to be Joey Sly, but he was sent down to the practice squad on Monday. It seems like he's kind of bouncing back and forth there. So honestly, this Texans team is just in shambles right now. Not entirely sure what to expect for Thursday night, but maybe keep an eye on who their kicker is as well. I probably would have had them rostered as a flex play. But now we're going to dive into my favorite plays here, kicking it off with the captains. As you all know, I do list out a captain from both sides of this game. I said the first Thursday night showdown between the Bucs and the Cowboys, I do it all season long. But honestly, I almost broke that rule here on this particular slate just because I'm really not in love with any of the Texans players. Brandon Cooks looked really good in the first 2 weeks, but that was primarily with Tyrod Taylor playing as a quarterback. Now again, we have third string Davis Mills coming in. I just don't know if the chemistry is going to be there with Brandon Cooks. But again, I'm not going to break that rule. I'm going to stick with what I said and list out a captain from both sides of this game. But just know, if I roll out 10 showdown lineups, I probably have 10 players in the captain spot from the Carolina side. If I roll out 100 lineups, maybe I do 99 with a Panthers player in the captain spot and just do one of the Houston Texans. If you want to get contrarian with your GPP lineups, one way to probably do that here for Thursday night is play a Texans player in the captain spot. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Looks really gross for them heading into this game. But with that being said, the first captain I got there on the Panthers side is Christian McCaffrey. Honestly, I think Darnold, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, I don't want to say the Panthers defense, but maybe you could even go there on this particular game. All of those make sense in the captain spot. They're all skill players and all have 20, 25 plus DraftKings point upside. Christian McCaffrey is just the flat out best player that we'll see on the field come Thursday night, and his ceiling might be 40 plus DraftKings points in this particular matchup. At this point in his career, he's basically matchup proof, and now he's got one of the softest matchups that we'll see all season long. He's top 20 plus rushing attempts in each of the first 2 games. I really like to see that, and we all know that he gets involved in the passing game as well. He saw 9 targets and had 9 catches in week 1, had 6 targets last week, had 5 catches, and he's likely going to be involved in the passing game once again here, even though the game script might not call for it. We saw him beat up on the Saints last week, and he still saw 6 targets. So he's the most expensive player on this slate. He's the best overall player. He's got the safest floor, highest ceiling. Even though he'll likely be popular in the captain spot, I'm not going to be afraid to go there. Now, if I had to absolutely pick one player from the Texans, gun to head, say, go ahead, pick someone from the Texans to be in the captain spot, it would be Brandon Cooks here. He's played really well in the first 2 weeks for the Texans, topping 20 plus DraftKings points in each. He's got 21 targets throughout the first 2 games as well. But again, he was playing with Tyrod Taylor the first 2 weeks, and now we got Davis Mills coming in, the third string quarterback. And honestly, I just don't know what to expect from Mills. When he replaced Tyrod on Sunday after getting injured, he had 18 passing attempts in that game, but only completed 8 of them. That's a 44% rate. Not very good. Obviously, there were probably some nerves there, but is he going to have any fewer knowing he's a starting quarterback heading into Thursday? Probably not. So like I said, Cooks could very well still see double-digit targets in this game. I just don't know if he's going to get a bunch of accurate balls thrown his way. But again, if I had to pick one player from the Texans side to put in the captain spot, Cooks makes sense to me. Now moving on down here to the flex plays. First guy I got there is Sam Darnold. He's looked really good here in the first 2 weeks in his new uniform. Obviously playing with a lot more confidence as well, and rightfully so. You got new weapons here. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, who you are familiar with when you played with him in New York, but most importantly, Christian McCaffrey. CMC, probably the best running back in the game. Certainly the best dual threat running back in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to say Alvin Kamara's right there, and I agree. Kamara is an absolute stud, but give me CMC all day. He's just so dynamic in the way that he plays, and Darnold clearly trusts him early and often. Like I said, CMC already saw 9 targets in week 1, 6 last week, 15 throughout the first 2 weeks. Obviously not afraid to dump it down to him. So you could stack him up with McCaffrey if you wanted to. You could stack him up with these 2 guys here as well, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, even Dan Arnold and Terrace Marshall. All of those guys are very applicable here on this Thursday night showdown, and Darnold's been able to hit hit 20 plus DraftKings points in each of his first 2 games as well. So again, if you want to replace CMC, who likely will be very, very popular in the captain spot, I think Darnold, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson are all very applicable there as well. But I like Darnold. I know he's expensive here at 11-2, but he's cheaper than Christian McCaffrey, and he's likely going to carry lower ownership in the captain spot than CMC will. And then the next 2 guys that I got here, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, the top 2 wide receivers in this Panthers offense. Going to kind of talk about them simultaneously. DJ Moore has been the number 1 wide receiver throughout the first 2 weeks. It's been very clear cut, actually. He's seen 19 targets compared to Robbie Anderson's 9. He's got 159 receiving yards there and has scored a touchdown as well. That's translated to 15.4 DraftKings points and 21.9. So very consistent here throughout the first 2 weeks. And honestly, the early chemistry between him and Darnold has looked very good. There's some old chemistry here, though, with Robbie Anderson as well. Like I said, I'm kind of expecting a breakout game here sooner than later for Robbie. Why not this week against the Texans defense that he should be able to burn on the deep routes? Look, he wasn't very productive in the first 2 games, only saw 3 targets in week 1, albeit he did score that touchdown from 57 yards out. And then last week he saw 6 targets. It wasn't very productive again, but good to see him double his targets from week 1. So again, he's got that game-breaking ability to score a touchdown from anywhere on the field. I'm kind of hoping it's this week here once again, but either one of these guys should see a significant amount of targets in this game here, and I'm fighting with rostering either one of them. And if you maybe want to fade CMC, fade at your own risk. You could do Sam Darnold, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'll probably have CMC in all of my lineups, but that's certainly one way to maybe get a little more contrarian as well, because CMC is going to be very, very popular on Thursday night. Next, we got Mark Ingram there, who's been the number 1 running back for the Texans throughout the first 2 weeks here. He had 26 rushing attempts in week 1, had 14 last week, but what's most intriguing to me here is he's tied for 3rd across the NFL in red zone rushing attempts. I had to go back and confirm that, but it's very true. He's had 10 throughout the first 2 weeks, tied for 3rd right now. I couldn't believe it, but hey, if he can continue that type of workload, especially once they get down towards the red zone, which I don't know how often they'll be in the red zone here on Thursday night, but assuming they can get down there a few times, looks like Mark Ingram is the guy, especially once they get towards the goal line as well. They're probably going to feed this guy the rock. They're not going to want to give Davis Mills the opportunity to throw an interception within the 5 to 10 yard line. So Mark Ingram, certainly don't mind him here. It's a little heavier price than I would like, but again, we're going to need to roster at least 1 Texans player on Thursday night. Why not Mark Ingram? Next, we got the Panthers defense, who I kind of mentioned during the spreadsheet intro. I really like the position that they're in this matchup against the Houston Texans, and honestly, they've been very productive in the first 2 weeks as well against the Jets and the Saints. They've combined for 10 total sacks, 3 turnovers, and they should be able to keep that up here against, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but 3rd-string quarterback Davis Mills, who came in last week, replaced Tyrod, went 8 for 18 in passing attempts, had an interception in that game, and also had a fumble. So I think the Panthers defense is going to get after him early and often, create a lot of pressure, make him throw the ball. And at $6,200 here, it's hopefully expensive enough to where people fade him. I don't know if people will, but this is one of those showdown slates that I'm definitely not afraid to roster at defense. Not going to be the Texans defense, but the Panthers defense here, like I said, been very productive so far this year, and I think they keep that up on Thursday night. We then got David Johnson there, another running back for the Houston Texans. He gets a little more involved in the passing game, though, compared to someone like Mark Ingram. Probably not going to be used a whole lot in the red zone or towards the goal line. That will be Mark Ingram, or it has been at least so far throughout the first 2 weeks. We've only seen DJ play 34% of the snaps throughout the first 2 weeks as well, so the volume, not very good there. He did score a touchdown back in week 1, though, too. Again, with the Texans here, we have to roster at least one of them. Maybe you put 2 of them in your lineup to get a little more contrarian. I was kind of going through this and saying, who are the guys to target? Because Brandon Cooks is a clear-cut 1 wide receiver. I really kind of like where Chris Conley is at, too. Danny Amendola went out with an injury, and Nico Collins did, too. So Chris Conley should be the number 2 wide receiver in this matchup. I'll talk about him at the bottom. That's probably my favorite overall play for the Texans outside of Brandon Cooks. But David Johnson here, maybe the game script goes to where the Texans are playing from behind the entire game, need to throw the ball a little bit more. Davis Mills wants to dump it off with those safe passes, and David Johnson hits double-digit DraftKings points. If he gets you 10 DraftKings points, he's going to meet value, and I think maybe he can do that here, assuming the game script goes his way. We then got those other two pass catchers here for the Carolina Panthers, Dan Arnold and Terrace Marshall. Dan Arnold, the tight end, got way more involved in week 2 compared to week 1. Saw 4 targets last week, had 55 receiving yards, and hauled in passes of 19, 19, and 17 yards. So they were throwing him the ball quite a bit down the field. Really like to see that. This guy just signed there this year coming from Arizona. It was actually kind of cool. You got to hear the agent make the deal for Dan Arnold with the Carolina Panthers front office. Don't want to get off track here, but ultimately playing tight end for these guys is with the starting crew as well. You'll see Ian Thomas get involved a little bit at the tight end position, but he's more so used for blocking purposes, where Dan Arnold, they want to get him a little more involved in the passing game. Honestly, he might only play 50 to 60% of the snaps in this game, but assuming he can see 4 or 5 plus targets again, I certainly don't mind him in this position. And then the rookie wide receiver there, Terrace Marshall, clearly the number 3 wide receiver in this offense, behind Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, and behind Christian McCaffrey as well. So he's really the number 4 pass catcher here, but he's seen 9 targets throughout the first 2 games. Really like to see that, and he's played over 50% of the snaps in each of those games as well. You know, just like Dan Arnold, if he gets 50-60% of the snaps in this game, I certainly don't mind that at this price tag. He's a very talented rookie. They took him in the 2nd round. I think he's going to get more involved as the season progresses, but it's only week 3 here. Again, if he sees about 50-60% of the snaps, 4 or 5 targets, I'm 100% okay with that at this $4,000 price tag. And then the last guy I got there, Chris Conley, kind of just name dropped him a couple of minutes ago. Houston Texans wide receiver, acting as a number 2 wide receiver on Thursday night, considering Danny Amendola and Nico Collins have both been ruled out already. Once we saw that on Sunday, those guys get injured. We saw Conley here play 90% of the offensive snaps, so that's really what I'm going off of here. But how often do you get to enter a showdown slate and be able to roster a number 2 wide receiver at $1,600? I certainly can't recall the last time I was able to do that, albeit it is the Texans offense here. If you're just looking for a low-priced option on the Texans side with a little bit of upside, that's Chris Conley for me. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this showdown video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch these videos. While you're here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Mayo Media Network. Like I said, they got football content coming out Monday through Sunday all season long, and you don't want to miss out on any of that. But let's have a great Thursday night here, folks. Let's win some money as well. I'm out of here.